Well, earlier, Suleiman here spoke to the president of the National Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero. He began by asking him, find out.
We had a meeting a few days back that didn't yield any result, probably because the people didn't have mandate, and the people, as at now, are not known to law, and on the capacity they came to negotiate with us.
When you talk about the people specifically, are you talking about the people on the president's side who perhaps are just aides that have not been appointed to speak on behalf of the government?
Have not been appointed. You are right. You know, for instance, Dela Alake, we don't know his position in government. You know, as the person leading the negotiation. You know, and few other names there. So that is one. But we're equally afraid that that might be why they didn't have the audacity, you know, to determine one or two things.
Now speak to Nigerians on what exactly the conversation was like. On Labour side, what were you saying to the government, perhaps even to Mr. Alake, who was representing the president?
Well, it was the government that was supposed to talk to us in that instance, because it was the government that said that subsidy, according to them, is normal. And the government invited us for a meeting by 2 p.m. and went ahead to allow the NNPC to announce a figure. And when they invited us, they were supposed to explain to us what all that meant. And that was the conversation. And they told us that they want to pay 5,000 naira to 50 million poor Nigerians, and as their own palliative. But we asked a lot of questions. The issue of appropriation, which the previous government made, and which was supposed to end by the ending of June. There was no answer. We tried to find out previous agreements for the refineries to work. There was no answer. We asked for the issue of CNG, you know, which was supposed to be an alternative, which the former Minister of State for Petroleum announced that the cost might be around 90 naira, and that is cheaper, you know, and then clean energy, and that the conversion had started in places like Edo State, and within 3 months, conversion could be concluded, and for which the CBN had made commitment to release 250 billion for conversion of vehicles and filling stations to CNG, and which the central bank had released some funds. Those questions were asked, nothing, you know, no response, no positive response. And the meeting, you know, adjourned with our directive that for us to negotiate in good faith, we should, the figures sent out should be withdrawn to enable us to discuss. And from now till the end of June was enough time for us to converse around these issues. But it appears, according to them, this is a fait accompli. They don't want to move forward.
Well, you were not alone. You were also there with some other comrades of yours, the TUC president and a few others. And specifically speaking about the CNG, which is, you know, the compressed natural gas you spoke about, was there in the team of the president an energy expert who also should understand, you know, a little, if at all, about CNG?
Well, it's not, the issue of CNG is not a matter of energy expert. It's a matter we have had conversation over before then. And the Melik Kerry was in previous discussions, you know, on that in 2001 over the CNG issue. And the central bank were part of this discussion. So it wasn't entirely strange. They were committed to it. You know, and even they had released, according to the CBN, they have released some funds for it. And we needed an update 2 years after, you know, in that meeting. So they had the whole expert on their side. They had the leadership of these two organizations, NNPC and Central Bank. So it wasn't a strange topic that we were bringing, you know, for them. You know, it was part of the decisions we had before we adjourned Senedai in 2021.
Let me jump in here. Speaking of the topic, fuel subsidy, should the government put in place the palliatives and the CNG and a few others which Labour speaks about, would you be okay with the removal of subsidy then?
Well, the issue of removal of subsidy or no removal of subsidy is, you know, something that Labour has been looking with suspicion. You know, in the first instance, if the CNG is there and is a viable alternative, you know, to the use of PMS, we will not be talking about subsidy because we have a product, we have an alternative, you know, to use, you know, for our vehicles and other domestic needs. So we will not be whether they have subsidy or no subsidy. But in our meeting between myself and the TUC president, with the Mr. President, you know, actually, we tried to find out if there will be, if subsidy as they were analyzing, you know, is removed, and the proceeds that will come therein, you know, what it could be used for. And the president told us that you don't give what you have, that there's nothing coming in there. So nothing is expected there. So you can see that, you know, to them, they equally agree that there's no subsidy anywhere, you know, because if you equally check, you know, the direct protest program, we want to know the people that are paying this subsidy. You know, who are the people that are receiving this subsidy? Who are the companies that are receiving this subsidy? For the past 8 years, Nigerians want to know, so that each time they are saying they are paying subsidy, because if the landing cost, as we are made to understand, is to be $30, you know, per barrel, and the barrel gives you over 158 liters, you know, it should be around 80 naira or 90 naira per liter, you know, and then you see that even at 185, you know, they are already making profit. So we needed to find out some information around this so-called subsidy, and what are they subsidizing and who is subsidizing who, you know. So those are issues around it. But if you have alternative, which means you won't force people to buy petroleum product at 1,000 naira per liter, because from what is happening now, if the two other refineries are not working and it's only Dangote that is coming on board, if he's selling a liter for 1,000, that's the only thing, that's the only option left for Nigerians to buy. And if that starts, the other two refineries, which they told us will come into operation by December last year, they will not come into operation now. So why are you in a hurry, you know, if you have not, you know, concluded the repair of these refineries?
So now the union is on strike, isn't it?
The union will embark on a strike.
It's a warning strike.
By Wednesday. It's not a warning strike, it's an indefinite strike action until they revert.
And if that is done, you call off the strike action?
Sorry?
And you say until they revert before the strike will be called off. But at what point will you be going back for another meeting when the strike is on?
Well, if the strike is on and they call us in a meeting that is properly constituted and they have men that has mandate, because in every negotiation what is important is mandate. People who can commit the state into an agreement, whose signatures, you know, will properly identify, you know, if they have such people with such mandate and they invite us, after reverting, then we'll meet with them.
Well, this looks like a tricky one. If you have people with mandate and they still have to revert before you will meet.
Yeah, that's when you, in such negotiation, not only in Labour Palace, anywhere in the world, you return to status quo ante for discussions to go ahead. You know, you don't assume you have taken your action and then you move ahead. What are you discussing? You have to come to the position you were before the crisis, before the problem, before the dispute. And then that will give the parties, to negotiate. That will give them the opportunity to negotiate in good faith. That's the only thing we have asked, and that's the situation anywhere in the world.
And Comrade Ajaero, before we go quickly, give us a sense of those that will be a part of the strike action.
Well, action of those that will be part of the strike action, it has to do with all affiliate unions of the NLC. All the 36 state councils of the Nigerian Labour Congress, all affiliates, all sectors of the economy, from electricity, oil and gas, aviation, banking sector, any sector, public service you can think of, all of them are involved. And there will be a mass protest all over with the civil society, progressive Nigerians, suffering Nigerians, trekking Nigerians, hungry Nigerians.
Do you have a date for the mass protest?
From that same Wednesday.
And the president had said that during his campaigns that if you like protests, subsidy will go. It looks like a fight to finish between Labour and the president.
Well, Labour is not fighting. The president can't lord it over us. The president can make pronouncements that is not backed by any law, or any pronouncement that violates the Appropriation Act. It's not a do or die. The president can make pronouncement that was not drawn out from presentation from National Assembly. Even if there has to be any vehement in the appropriation bill, it should have gone to National Assembly. The president can make pronouncement that is not coming from either Council of States or without executive in place. So if he's making a pronouncement that is personal and that runs counter to the appropriation bill, which is supposed to terminate by the end of June, then you have to. It's not a question of fight to finish. We are trying to, stand on our rights and insist on constitutionality.